Good morning, Mid-Michigan. Weather has been a pressing topic around the state with both flooding and high winds this past weekend. More on that coming up. And Congress is under pressure to act on gun control. Thank you for waking up with us this morning. The Morning Rundown starts now.
From Mid-Michigan, Mount Pleasant's own News Central Morning Rundown starts now.
Good morning and thank you for joining us for the Morning Rundown. I'm Dana Whyte. CMU President George Ross stepping down doesn't only impact the university, but the local community as well. Mount Pleasant city officials are hoping for a smooth transition, but believe Ross's legacy will last forever. When Lamont is on campus, he usually speaks in front of classrooms like this one, but the biggest way he reaches his audience is right here. With nonstop rain across the state, floods are taking over mid-Michigan. Meteorologist Diane Phillips has everything you need to know before going outside. Diane? With LSU known for their strong defense and the Chippewas known for being a three-point team, this looks like it's going to be a great matchup. The game takes place this Saturday at 11 a.m. on ESPN2. A 23-year-old man from Durand was stabbed here at Deerfield Apartments in Mount Pleasant this past Sunday. Police are still searching for the suspect, but without the help of one CMU student, they may have had a harder time. It was just a normal night for CMU junior Justin Metropolis until
all of a sudden people outside started screaming. So we all went outside and there was a kid running around with holding his underneath his rib cage.
The victim suffered from a stab wound to the abdomen with possible internal organ damage.
Everyone was like, "Don't call the cops. People call the cops. Nobody call the cops." It was kind of back and forth and they didn't want the cops called.
Metropolis followed his gut and did call police, but his efforts didn't stop there.
I was so scared. I was shocked.
The incident happened outside of a party just after midnight. After the stabbing, Metropolis tried to calm the victim down.
We need to lay you on the ground. We'll get pressure. 911's on the way. And as soon as he heard 911, the sirens kind of pulled the corner right when I said 911. So he saw that and just kind of ran. About an hour later, police found the victim behind another apartment building.
We were able to locate the victim, who had a stab wound in his abdomen and was bleeding. He was obviously transported right to the hospital.
Even though Metropolis has never been through something like this before, he knows what he did was right.
I had to do talk to 911, and that's a different thing to do. You don't do that every day.
The suspect fled the scene wearing a dark blue button-up shirt, and police asked that if you saw anything, to call the Isabella County Sheriff's Office right away. In Mount Pleasant, Dana Whyte, News Central 34. With final season coming up, CMU students are worried about exams, papers, and everything in between. But some say that there's one thing many forget to make a priority: mental health.
I was diagnosed with anxiety and depression when I was in middle school.
Brandon Edwards is a senior at CMU and has a long history battling with mental health.
Some days that there isn't a problem, and then there's some days where I just can't get out of bed, no matter how hard I try.
These struggles almost cost Edwards his life.
In 8th grade, I had a suicide attempt in school. It was in class. I feel like that was my boiling point where I needed help and I needed to get it fast.
Even though Edwards has overcome the worst, he knows the daily responsibilities in college play a huge part in his current stress. He's turned to counseling to help him out.
I think the counseling center is amazing. It's a free service and I have used it a few times and it's really helped for me personally.
Dr. Terry McGlasson is a professor for counseling at CMU and urges students who are having a hard time to reach out in any way they can.
Stress in and of itself is not necessarily destructive or the problem. It's what we do or don't do about it.
McGlasson thinks that there's a stigma with mental health that forces people to bottle up their feelings.
We don't talk about these things. I see my dentist every 6 months for checkup. I see my doctor once a year. I do those things not because I'm sick, but because I want to stay healthy and well. We do not have the same approach to mental health.
According to the National Alliance of Mental Illness, 75% of all mental health conditions begin by the age of 24, which is prime college time. McGlasson says these problems are nothing to be ashamed of.
There's nothing wrong with experiencing stress. It's part of the college experience.
Edwards believes the best way to overcome these hardships are to talk about them and don't keep them to yourself.
Just find someone who you can talk to. It can be a family member, a friend, a faculty member, anyone.
In Mount Pleasant, Dana Whyte, News Central 34. The Lowdown was more than just a radio show to a number of students of color here at CMU. L'Oreal Walker, the founder and producer of the show, was fired from her position as music director, and her show was canceled last week after a song was played that included profanity, which is a violation of FCC guidelines.
My show was never intended just for me. It was never just about L'Oreal Walker. It was always about you know, me giving myself a platform to lend to other people as well. You know, it's always been about us, for us, by us.
L'Oreal Walker said she started the Lowdown with one goal in mind, to give CMU a new perspective on hip-hop culture. Walker believes her show being taken off the air was extreme.
If you're not afforded the opportunity to make mistakes in college, then where are you safe to make the mistakes? We come here to learn. This is a learning facility.
What do we want? Justice! When do we want it? Now!
But according to University Communications, Walker is not currently enrolled at CMU. The radio station and many other student activities are intended as a learning experience specifically for CMU students. But even though Walker is not currently a student, there were over 50 other CMU students protesting with her on Wednesday.
Universities have long been places where students come together to exercise their right to free speech. It's part of the higher education experience, and so as such, we certainly, as a university, support our students' right to peacefully demonstrate on campus.
Walker's coworker and close friend Theron Logan believes this show was important for the Mount Pleasant community.
This show means so much to everybody that's seen it and worked a part of it. I was a part of it, I know.
Walker says that even though she's no longer able to host her show, she doesn't want this to stop other students from feeling comfortable expressing their opinions through hip-hop culture. The Lowdown was produced by Walker and 5 other co-hosts on campus. She said the department did not know she wasn't a student until after she was fired. Walker also noted that she was never told that she had to be a student in order to work at the radio station. Live in studio, Dana Whyte, News Central 34. With Hispanic Heritage Month in full swing, people are celebrating all around the country. But one student here at CMU says the campus needs to say less and do more.
It's kind of hard. Like, I like speaking Spanish and I like listening to my music, and it's not that I can't, but it's different.
CMU senior Emily Javier has been on campus for 2 years, and in that time, she doesn't feel like CMU has made enough effort for her to feel comfortable in expressing her culture.
There haven't been really many chances for me to be like, yeah, I'm Hispanic.
Javier feels that only certain offices are putting in work and not the university as a whole.
I don't think that they do much of anything, and even having like those cultural months, it's like the mass office and like stuff like that that set it up. So CMU as a whole isn't really aware of what's even going on.
Jonathan Glenn works in the Office of Multicultural Academic Student Services, and although his job focuses on inclusion and diversity, there are limits in just how much he can do.
Of course, I try my best to be, help as much as I can, but no matter how much I help, I'm still not Hispanic.
According to Central Michigan records for the fall 2016 semester, 77% of the student population identified as white, leaving only 8% African American students, and that leaves only 4% Latino. Assistant Director of Multicultural Recruitment Patricia Young went to CMU herself and understands the struggle.
It does give you an inner struggle because you don't feel like you belong. When you have a very few students on campus or faculty and staff who can relate to your experiences, you do have that feeling of isolation.
Javier believes that although there is a small number of Latinos on campus, that doesn't mean that they're not there.
They want minorities here, but they're not doing much to make them feel welcomed. Like, the minorities themselves have to go out of their way to find things and like make this feel like a home, and it shouldn't be like that.
In Mount Pleasant, Dana Whyte, News Central 34.